What if the fear of speaking English is the only thing standing between you and a life-changing job? This is the true story of how one woman went from being too terrified to order a coffee to landing a $4,000-a-month dream job. Her step-by-step method is in this video, so subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories that will help you master English. Today, I have a story that I think is very important. It's a story that might change the way you think about learning English, and maybe even change the way you think about yourself. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine you are standing in a room full of people. It's crowded and a little noisy. Your heart is pounding, beating fast in your chest. Your hands are shaking just a little bit. Everyone in the room is looking at you. They are waiting for you to speak. You open your mouth, but the words don't come out. It feels like the words are trapped inside your mind, but they just refuse to escape. You see people whisper to each other. Maybe some of them laugh just a little. And in that moment, you feel so small. You feel like you just want to disappear. Have you ever felt this way when you were trying to speak English? Have you ever been scared of making a mistake? Scared of people judging you? Scared of feeling that you are not good enough? If you have, please know that you are not alone. This is not just a story I am telling you. In many ways, it is your story. And today, I want you to see that it does not matter how weak your English feels right now. It does not matter how many times you feel you have failed. You can become fluent. English is more than just a language. It is a key. It is a key that can unlock so many doors and endless opportunities for you. It can give you new confidence. It can help you find better jobs. It can introduce you to new friends from all over the world. It gives you the ability to travel and see new places. And most importantly, it can help you build a completely new life. By the end of this story, I hope you will not only feel inspired, but you will also know exactly what you need to do to improve your English and change your life. So are you ready? Are you ready to take the first step toward a brighter, more confident future? Let's begin. Let me introduce you to someone who might feel very familiar to you. Her name is Emma, and she once believed that she could never ever learn to speak English well. But something happened to her, and what happened next changed her life forever. Emma was 23 years old when she moved to a new country. She arrived with a heart full of excitement, full of dreams for her new life. But there was one big problem. Her English was terrible. She had studied English in school, of course, for many years, but when she tried to use it in real life, it felt useless. When she tried to talk to people, they often didn't understand her. Her pronunciation was bad, her grammar was a mess, and worst of all, she was so scared to even try to speak. Her first day in the new country was a complete disaster. She went to a small coffee shop. It was busy with people talking and laughing. She just wanted to order a simple coffee. She walked to the counter, her heart beating fast. She tried to say the words she had practiced in her head. One cup coffee? Me give, please," she said in a nervous, quiet voice. The cashier, a young man with a friendly face, just looked confused. "Excuse me?" he asked. Emma's face turned bright red. She felt a wave of heat wash over her. She tried again, pointing at the coffee machine. "One coffee. I want." Behind her in the line, she heard people starting to laugh. Someone whispered just loud enough for her to hear, "She doesn't even know how to order a coffee." Emma felt so humiliated. She quickly paid, grabbed her coffee, and ran out of the shop. As soon as she was outside on the street, she felt like crying. "Maybe they're right," she thought to herself. "Maybe I will never be good at English. Maybe I should just give up." That night, Emma sat all alone in her tiny apartment. The room was quiet as she stared up at the blank ceiling. She thought about all the times she had struggled with English. She remembered all the times people had ignored her because she couldn't speak well. She thought about a job interview she had failed because of her bad English. She remembered all the times she felt like an outsider, lonely in her own life. But then, as she was sitting there in the quiet darkness, something happened. She got up and walked to the bathroom. She looked in the mirror and saw her own sad face staring back at her. But she looked deeper, and behind the sad eyes, she saw a fighter. She saw someone who was strong. "I am not stupid," she whispered to the girl in the mirror. "I am not weak. I just haven't learned the right way yet. But I will." Her voice grew stronger. "I don't care how hard it is. I will learn English. And one day, I will speak fluently. I will speak confidently. And no one will ever laugh at me again." That night, Emma made a decision. It was a decision that would change her entire life. She would learn English no matter what it took. But she had a problem. She had no idea where to start. She had tried using books. She had tried memorizing grammar exercises. She had tried watching English lessons on the internet. But nothing seemed to work for her. And then, one day, she discovered something that changed everything. The next morning, Emma woke up with that promise still in her heart. "I will not be afraid to make mistakes," she said to herself. "I will not be afraid to speak. I will practice English every single day, no matter how hard it gets." But when she actually tried to practice, she felt lost. She had no one to talk to. She didn't know where to begin. Should I memorize long lists of words? She wondered. Should I study more grammar rules? Should I watch movies? Then she remembered something she had read a long time ago. The article said that the fastest way to learn a language is to learn to think in that language. Maybe that's it, she thought. Maybe my problem is not speaking. Maybe the problem is that I am thinking in my own language first, and then trying to translate everything in my head. That very day, she made one small change. Instead of thinking in her native language, she forced herself to think in English. When she woke up, she said to herself in her mind, "Good morning, Emma. Today is a new day. You will learn something new today." When she went to the kitchen to make coffee, she thought, "This is a cup. This is coffee. I am making coffee." When she went outside for a walk, she described everything she saw in English silently inside her head. "That is a big green car. The sky is blue today. That girl is wearing a red dress." At first, it was very hard. It was slow. She often had to stop and search for the right words. But she kept doing it. And after a few days, something amazing started to happen. Her brain began to think in English more naturally. It was a small step, but it felt huge. Thinking in English was helping her, but the idea of speaking was still scary. She was still so afraid of making mistakes. She was afraid people would judge her. But then she remembered something a kind teacher had once told her. The teacher said, "Mistakes don't mean you are failing. Mistakes mean you are learning." So Emma made a new rule for herself. She would not care about mistakes anymore. She would just open her mouth and speak. That day, she decided to do something brave. She went back to the very same coffee shop where she had been so embarrassed before. She took a deep, slow breath to calm her nerves. She walked to the counter and said, "Hi, can I have a coffee, please?" It was a simple sentence, but it was perfectly clear. The cashier smiled a warm smile and said, "Of course. What size would you like?" Emma panicked for a second. She didn't understand the question. The old Emma would have run away, but the new Emma stayed. She calmly said, Sorry, can you repeat that, please?" The cashier repeated his question slowly and clearly. What size would you like, small, medium, or large? A real smile spread across Emma's face. Now she understood. Oh, medium, please. As she took her coffee for the first time, she didn't feel like a failure. She felt proud. She walked out of that coffee shop feeling tall, and she realized something very important. You don't need perfect English to communicate with people. You just need to be brave enough to try. That one small success gave her a new wave of confidence. Now she was ready to go even further. Emma started to notice something interesting. She thought about how babies learn to talk. Babies don't learn languages by studying grammar books. They learn by listening to everything around them, by repeating sounds and words, and by just using the language to get what they want. If babies can learn like that, she thought, why can't I? So she made a new plan for herself. No more boring grammar rules, she decided. No more memorizing long lists of words I will never use. I will learn English the way babies do. Here is what she did. It was her new natural way of learning. First, she started listening to English every single day. She found simple English podcasts for learners and listened to them on her way to work. She watched English movies with English subtitles at first. Then, when she felt more confident, she watched them without any subtitles at all. She listened to English songs and sang along, trying to repeat the lyrics. Second, she started to copy native speakers. She would watch a video, pause it after a sentence, and then repeat exactly what the speaker said. She tried to copy their accent, their rhythm, and the music of their speech. This is a technique called shadowing. She would listen to a sentence and say it at the same time as the speaker, trying to keep up. Third, she spoke to herself, all the time. Since she didn't have anyone to practice with, she had full conversations in English right there in her apartment, often in front of the mirror. She pretended to order food in a restaurant. She pretended to give directions to a tourist. She introduced herself over and over again. Fourth, she started writing in English every day. She kept a simple diary. She would write things like, "Today was a good day. I went to the park. The weather was nice." When she learned new words, she would write them down in her diary and try to use them in a sentence. And fifth, she learned phrases, not just single words. She realized that learning one word at a time was not very helpful. So instead of memorizing the word hungry, she learned the full sentence, "I am hungry," or the question, "Can I have some food?" This made the words much more useful. Within just a few weeks of doing these things, Emma started to notice something incredible. English was no longer so difficult. It didn't feel like a wall she couldn't climb. She was speaking more confidently. She was understanding conversations much better. She wasn't perfect, of course. She still made mistakes. But she was improving faster than she had ever improved before. Just when Emma was starting to feel really confident, something terrible happened. She applied for a good job at a company she really wanted to work for. The interviewer asked her a question in English, and suddenly, she froze. Her mind went completely blank. She couldn't find the words. "I'm sorry. I don't understand," she said softly, looking down at her hands. The interviewer smiled, but it was a sad kind of smile. He said, "Thank you for coming." She knew what that meant. She didn't get the job. Emma walked home feeling completely defeated. The world felt gray. Maybe I'm not good enough, she thought. Maybe I'll never be truly fluent. Maybe I should just give up. Tears filled her eyes as she walked. But then, as she was about to let the sadness take over, she remembered her promise. She remembered that girl in the mirror. A thought came into her head, clear and strong. I didn't come this far only to quit now. She took a deep breath. She made a new decision right there on the street. This was not the end. This was just the beginning of the next step. Emma had come such a long way. She was already thinking in English. She was speaking without being terrified of mistakes. She was learning in a natural, powerful way. But when she faced her first real job interview in English, she failed. Her mind went blank, and she walked out feeling like a failure. She almost gave up. But she reminded herself of that powerful thought. I didn't come this far only to quit now. I will learn from this. I will improve. And one day I will speak fluently and confidently in any situation. This was the moment that everything changed for her. Emma realized that learning English is not just about speaking simple sentences. It's about training your mind to think to respond and to express your ideas naturally even under pressure. So she made a plan. A powerful step-by-step plan that would take her from a nervous beginner to a truly fluent English speaker. And now I'm going to share everything she did in detail so that you can follow the same path and finally master English. The very first thing Emma changed was her mindset. She realized that learning English is not about being perfect, it's about communicating. She stopped focusing on all the wrong things. She stopped worrying about every little grammar rule. She stopped translating everything in her head. She stopped trying to sound exactly like a native speaker. Instead, she focused on what was truly important speaking naturally, even if she made some mistakes. She focused on understanding other people and responding to them. She decided that confidence was more important than perfection. One day, she wrote these words on a small sticky note and placed it on her mirror where she would see it every morning. Confidence first, fluency second, perfection never. She read it every single day. She was programming her brain to believe that she could do it, that she deserved to speak English well. She knew that your mindset is 50% of your success. If you fear English, if you are always afraid, you will never improve. But if you embrace it, if you enjoy it, and if you make mistakes without shame, you will improve faster than you ever imagined possible. So that is the first lesson: change your mindset, and you will change your English. Next, she worked on training her ears. This was the secret to understanding English. Emma's biggest problem was understanding English when people spoke fast. She realized something very important: if you can't understand English, you can't speak it well. So she began to train her ears like an athlete trains their muscles. She created a listening practice routine. She started listening to English every single day without excuses. She listened to podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks, and English TV shows. She used a special 3-step listening method. First, she would listen with English subtitles on, just to understand the main ideas. Second, she would listen again this time, with no subtitles to challenge her brain. And third, she would listen and repeat what she heard out loud to improve her own pronunciation. She also used a slow listening technique. When she found an audio or video that was too difficult, she used an app to slow it down. She would listen to the difficult parts again and again at a slower speed until she finally understood them. She listened actively, not passively. That means she was always thinking. She would ask herself, what is this conversation about? What are the most important words? How would I respond in this situation? Within just 1 month of doing this every day, her brain started to recognize English words and sentences much faster. Conversations didn't feel like a confusing blur anymore. So the second lesson is this: listen every day. Train your ears and you will understand English naturally. Next was the speaking challenge. Emma knew that if she wanted to be fluent, she had to speak more. A lot more. But there was still a problem. She had no one to talk to. So she created a system to practice speaking all by herself. This was Emma's powerful speaking plan. Every morning, she spoke out loud to herself. She would describe her plans for the day. Today, I will go to the park. Then I will have lunch. Later, I will read a book. It felt strange at first, but it helped. She also answered imaginary questions. She would ask herself questions like, "What did you do today? What do you like to eat? What are your hobbies?" And then she would answer them out loud in full sentences. Every night she recorded her voice. She would record herself speaking for just 2 minutes about any topic. Then she would listen to the recording. This helped her to hear her own mistakes and improve her pronunciation. Finally, she joined some English-speaking groups online. She found people from other countries who were also learning. She started sending voice messages instead of just text messages. Within a few weeks, she noticed a huge improvement. Speaking felt less scary. The words came to her mind faster. Her confidence exploded. The lesson here is simple, but so important. If you don't speak, you will never improve. You must speak every day, even if you're alone. Then came the vocabulary explosion. Emma realized that she often struggled to speak because she didn't know enough words. But instead of trying to memorize long, boring word lists, she used a much smarter method. She learned new words in context. This means that instead of memorizing random individual words, she learned them inside full sentences. For example, instead of just learning the word delicious, she would learn the phrase, "This cake is delicious," or "The food at that restaurant is really delicious." This helped her remember the word and know how to use it correctly. She learned words from real conversations. Whenever she watched a movie or listened to a podcast, she would write down new and useful phrases she heard. She focused on learning the most common words first. She found a list of the top 1,000 most common English words because those words are used in almost 90% of daily conversations, and she reviewed her new words every day. Every day she spent just 10 minutes reviewing old words to make sure she didn't forget them. She used something she called the 5 times rule. She would try to use each new word 5 times in a day to make it stick in her memory. After 3 months of this, she had learned over 1,000 new words and could actually use them. The lesson is learn words inside sentences, review them daily, and use your new words immediately. Finally, there was the confidence breakthrough. This is how Emma finally became fluent. Emma's final challenge was having real conversations with real people. She knew that learning alone was good, but real fluency only comes from speaking with people. So she did something bold. She forced herself to talk to native speakers. She joined local English meetup groups in her city. She started having small conversations everywhere she went, in shops, in restaurants, and in the park. Even if it was just a simple, "Hi, how are you?" she did it. She completely stopped being afraid of making mistakes. At first, she was very nervous. Her hands would sweat. And yes, she made mistakes, but every single conversation made her a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Then one day, something magical happened. She was having a conversation with a native English speaker, a woman she met at a park. They were talking about their favorite books. And suddenly, Emma realized she wasn't translating in her head anymore. She was just speaking. The words were flowing naturally. For the very first time, she felt completely free. Emma was no longer just learning English. She was living it. The final lesson is that real fluency comes from real conversations. Speak as much as you can with as many people as you can. Emma had done it. She went from struggling to order a coffee to speaking English confidently. She had trained her ears, she had improved her vocabulary, and she had forced herself to speak every single day. But her journey was not over yet. She didn't just want to speak English. She wanted to change her life with English. And that is exactly what she did next. Emma had always dreamed of working for a big international company. She wanted a job where she could earn a high salary, travel to different countries, and work with smart and successful people. She wanted to feel proud of herself and her work. But there was always one big problem: all the best jobs required fluent English. At first, this dream felt impossible. She used to think to herself, "I will never be good enough in English. No one will ever hire me. All the fluent English speakers are smarter than me." But after all those months of learning and practicing, something had changed deep inside her. She realized that she was not the same person anymore. She had worked so hard. She had pushed herself out of her comfort zone. She had improved every single day. So she made a new decision. "I will apply for my dream job," she told herself. "I will not let fear stop me anymore." Emma applied for a marketing job at a big international company. She was very nervous on the day of the interview, but she remembered something important. "I don't need to have perfect English," she told herself. "I just need to have confidence." When the interviewer asked her the first question, "So tell me about yourself," Emma didn't freeze. She didn't go blank. She smiled a real confident smile, and she spoke naturally. She told them her story. She told them how she had worked hard to learn English, how she practiced every single day to improve, and how she never gave up even when she failed. The interviewer was very impressed. At the end of the interview, he said, "Emma, we love your confidence. We love your story. You are exactly the kind of person we want on our team." And just like that, Emma got the job. Her starting salary was $4,000 a month. It was more money than she had ever earned in her entire life. The moment she saw her first paycheck, she cried. They were tears of pure happiness. She couldn't believe it. English had truly changed her life. After getting the job, Emma's life transformed completely. She started traveling the world. Before learning English, she had never even left her own country. Now her company sent her to different countries for work. She visited London, where she saw Big Ben and spoke confidently with native English speakers. She went to New York City, where she ordered coffee in English without any fear at all. She traveled to Paris, where she gave a presentation in English in front of 50 people. She felt powerful. She felt independent. She felt unstoppable. And Emma noticed that English didn't just help her at work. It changed who she was as a person. Before learning English, she was shy and always scared to talk to new people. She always doubted herself and her abilities. She often felt small in a big world. But after learning English, she spoke with confidence. She believed in herself. She felt like she could do anything she set her mind to. One day, an old friend told her, "Emma, you are not the same person you were a year ago. You have completely changed." Emma smiled because she knew it was true. After seeing how much English had changed her own life, Emma made a new goal for herself. "I want to help other people learn English too," she decided. So she started teaching her friends the simple methods that had helped her improve. She started sharing her story online, inspiring other people to believe in themselves. She realized that the best way to keep improving her own English was to help others improve too. Emma's journey proves one very important thing: anyone can learn English and change their life. And now she wants to share her biggest lessons with you. First, stop saying, "I can't." You have to believe in yourself. Emma used to think, "I can never learn English." But she was wrong. She realized that the only real difference between people who are successful and people who are unsuccessful is their belief. If you keep telling yourself, "I'm bad at English. I will never be fluent. English is too hard," then guess what? You will never improve. But if you start saying, "I can learn English. I am improving every day. I will become fluent. Then one day, you will wake up and you will be the person you always dreamed of being. Second, speak English every single day. Fluency doesn't come from studying books. It comes from using English in your real life. Emma's golden rule was this: if you don't speak, you will never improve. So from today, I want you to start speaking, even if you are alone. Talk to yourself in English. Repeat conversations you hear in movies. Send voice messages to your friends instead of texts. Join online groups where people practice English. The more you speak, the faster you will improve. And third, keep going even when it feels hard. There were so many times when Emma wanted to give up, but she didn't. She kept learning, she kept practicing, and she kept pushing herself. Why? Because she knew that every small effort counts. Maybe today you only learn one new word. Maybe today you only practice for 5 minutes. But guess what? That is still progress. If you improve just 1% every day in 1 year, you will be 365% better. Your future is waiting for you. But you have to take action now. Emma's life changed because she decided to take action. She didn't wait for the perfect moment. She started with what she had right where she was. And now she has a high-paying job. She travels the world. She is more confident than she has ever been. And all of this happened because she learned English. Now it is your turn. This is your moment. If you are struggling with English right now, please do not give up. 1 year from now, you could be speaking English confidently. You could get your dream job. You could travel to amazing places. You could feel so proud of yourself. But it can only happen if you start today. Remember Emma's story. She was just like you. She struggled, she failed, and she felt lost. But she kept going. And in the end, she won. And so can you. Your journey starts now. Are you ready to change your life?